So now, let's acknowledge and tackle the obstacles and blocks and tendencies that can limit intuition. I will tell you that all of these obstacles came up for me in the beginning, and they still can come up for me. You can see which of these ring true for you as well. The first obstacle is processing old thinking. We have between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts a day, and most of these thoughts are recycled, things we thought last week or last month or 5 years ago. We tend to get stuck in comfortable, repetitive thought loops. When you solve a difficult problem after you stop thinking about it, when the answer just comes to you, that's your intuition at work. Second is skepticism. To develop our intuition, we have to be open to embrace notions that our Western culture considers fanciful, dubious, ridiculous, or just plain stupid. I would like you to consciously suspend skepticism long enough for you to access your intuition. Third is preoccupation with success. Intuitive input thrives in a relaxed state of being. When you're doing intuitive work, if you start wondering if you're doing it right, if you're being intuitive, if you're getting the right information, then you shut down the intuitive flow every time. For me, when I started to try to do shamanic journeys, I felt foolish. I had to learn to stop telling myself it wouldn't work. When doing intuitive work of any kind, you have to be willing to relax, dive in, and give it a shot. This is about finding the courage to risk it. And we will hold our tribe in a safe space and really encourage one another not to hold back. Fourth is fear of feeling. Intuition is a feeling, sensing, inner knowing process. Intuition begins with feelings. If you have a tendency to put thinking before feeling, like I do, it is helpful to stay tuned into your emotions. When you want to be more intuitive, feelings are your friend. Fifth is the tendency to do. Most of us have been culturally trained to focus on tangible outcomes. In intuitive work, it is much more about being than doing. Six is undeveloped imagination. In order to tune into whatever form your helpers take, you've got to reach beyond your intellect. You have to bridge the gap between the seen and the unseen world, and your imagination is that bridge. The looser and freer your ability to imagine, the more easily your higher guidance can communicate with you. If you think daydreaming is a big waste of time, feel you should always keep a tight focus, believe you've got to think to solve problems, then your intuition is always going to be just out of reach. If, on the other hand, you're comfortable dreaming, imagining, fantasizing, and generally making things up, or you're willing to be comfortable doing so, you'll be able to do a lot with your intuition. 7 is self-doubt. Self-doubt is one thing everyone has to overcome in order to develop psychically. It usually takes the form of affirmations. Negative ones that go, "This won't work for me. I can't do this. I'm no good at this." Or my personal favorite, "I am just making this up." The part of your consciousness that needs to open up in order to be intuitive hears those affirmations, believes them, and closes down. So now that you know what kinds of obstacles can come up, I will ask you to set skepticism aside and ask you to be open to imagine who your helpers might be. My beautiful teacher, Terry Uktana, explains that every soul that chooses an embodied life has at least one guide or helper who works with them during that life. For simpler life forms, only one guide is necessary to fulfill all the needs of that soul. For human lives, a whole team is required, and therefore many souls agree to support the embodied being in various aspects and tasks for that life. Some people experience these helpers as guardian angels, others as friends, imaginary friends. Some see them in the form of animal guides. Some see them as ancestors or past loved ones. Others see deities or spirit beings or archetypes. All of these are possible. All of these are valid. My shamanic teachers explain that guides or helpers often utilize a form that is familiar or beautiful to the embodying soul. A guide may offer us wisdom in dealing with a difficult challenge, in the development of a particular skill, or providing support during a difficult task. Guides can appear during an embodied life for a brief moment in time, or can work with us for our entire lifetime. So now that you are in a state of mind to accept that guides are real, we are going to practice imagining and connecting, and I will ask you to set aside self-doubt. But before we actually envision and connect, I want to talk about one more thing that fascinates me, and that is the concept of belief. I read and reread a fascinating book by Dean Radin called Real Magic. In one section of the book, Dean says, "A central tenet of magical lore is that belief modulates magical efficacy. What do experiments say?" And then he outlines a number of scientific experiments with subjects who either do or do not believe in what he calls psi, PSI, which is his word for phenomena that challenge commonly held assumptions. They might be telepathy or clairvoyance or precognition or psychokinesis, things that are studied within parapsychology. Interestingly, in all the experiments where they measured belief, they found that belief did modulate the results. Those who believed tended to score above chance, and those who did not believe scored below chance. Even those subjects who had significant psi abilities, but who did not believe, scored below chance. So belief makes a difference in results. So I could go on for a really long time about this, and please read the book if it calls to you, but suffice it to say that belief matters. So please, for the exercise, get in the mindset of believing that you have these abilities and that you can develop them further, and you will have better results. And in the next recording, we will do a wonderful session on connecting and envisioning.